I recorded. Okay. So that was the Battlefield Intelligence page. As I said, you get the Militia Chat, and really everything what is going to happen is going to be started in the Militia Chat. It is like a constant call for fleets, for people who lead fleets, or for people who want to join a fleet. You have also people throwing in intel about opposing militia members in different systems and their ship types. This information has to be taken carefully because you have spies in there, but yes, this is the class. This should be the second part of it. The outline of the class is in my bio. So I'm now currently at the Militia Chat Battlefield Intelligence page and the star map usage for when you are in factional warfare. So, as I said, the Militia Chat is the main center of everything what is happening in factional warfare. It's very obvious. You can ask just random questions of how do I apply Plex. You can ask questions on how do I fleet up or how do I use the fleet interface. That is fairly common in Militia Chat. And it's usually handled fairly friendly because the people who are in the militia want you to help them killing the opposing faction. So there's no stupid question to ask inside there. Just be wary about intel and fleet directions because you don't know who is giving it, or you know who is giving it, but you don't know if it's a spy or not if you're fresh inside there. Make a list if you are there and add the good fleet commanders to your address book so you know and you can track them. And add spies or people you know who are not good fleet commanders to your address book so you can avoid them or set your personal standing to them. And so you filter out over the time who you can trust and who you cannot trust. As I wanted to say, a slightly more interesting statistic is in my bio link. That is the interactive factional warfare statistics. It's macroscopic data relating to the kills, system occupancy, and victory points. It is what the Battlefield Intelligence is tracking out of game in a web browser, but you see it over a certain time, which makes it more interesting. So you can follow the flow of the war. Are you gaining more systems? Are you losing systems? Are you gaining more victory points? Are you losing victory points? Are they making more victory points, or are you making more victory points? And now coming back to the star map. As I said, more interesting is the star map. It is one of the best intel tools you have if you're on your own. So if you open the star map and click on star map, color stars by occupancy, you can click on statistics. No, let's play on occupancy and click on all militias. You now have the EVE universe and you can see all systems which are related to factional warfare. These are all low-sec systems, and these are all systems where you can gain or lose occupancy. We can now filter by Amarr Empire, for example, and now you see which systems the Amarr Empire is currently having occupancy over. Switching now to the opposing faction, that would be the Minmatar Republic. You can see the Minmatar are currently having more systems in their occupancy. This is just static information. This is just telling you where the occupancy of a certain empire is. Now, more interesting is the defensive and offensive option. If you are in the militia, you have the additional option having my militia and enemy militia, but if you're not in the militia, you always can click on Amarr Empire or Qadari Empire. If you click on defensive, Amarr Empire, you can see the systems which are in Amarr hand and where they are in the defensive state. Defensive state means that the Minmatar militia is doing Plexus in those systems to gain victory points within those systems. The brighter it glows, the more victory points you have in that system. Let's switch over to the Minmatar Republic in the defensive state. These are systems, and it doesn't look so good for us compared to the Amarr. We have a lot of systems, yes, but we have a lot of systems who are glowing fairly bright. So all these systems are currently under attack by the Amarr Empire. We still have occupancy over there as Minmatar, but the Amarr are trying to contest these systems. You have a system which is occupied by a certain system, and if the opposing faction starts doing stuff in that system, the system gets contested. In that case, it starts glowing on this side. The next state a system can go is from contested being vulnerable. If a system is vulnerable, that means enough victory points have been gained in the system, and the control bunker, which is static item in the system, is vulnerable, and you can fly there and you can attack it. And you have to do a certain amount of damage to this control bunker, and if you do that damage within 24 hours, the system will switch from the one side to the other side. Okay. This just to the for the offensive, it's just the same. When we now click on Ammar on the offensive side, it is the same as if you would display the Minmatar on the defensive side. Another statistic of fairly interest is ships destroyed in the last hour. So you can see where currently the fleets have been engaging each other. Or in the last 24 hours, you can see that as well. It is interesting to track where certain militias are focusing their effort on fighting. So the star map, just like if you go into low-sec areas and have to check out if there has been kills or a gate camp, is a fairly good intel tool to see where combat is happening. And looking at militia destroyed and landed in the last 24 hours, it looks like Amamake naturally, and the systems around Amamake are heavily losing ships. The filter is militia ships destroyed. So looking at Amamake, which is a common pirate ground, only militia ships who are lost in Amamake are counted toward these statistics. That to the first part, Militia Chats, Battlefield, Intelligence Page, and Star Map usage. What I also can recommend is using the Factional Warfare map pack of E-UNI, also linked in my bio. He has a certain map of it where all the low-sec areas of one war, that means Minmatar and Ammar and Caldaria Gland, are on one page. You can print them out and use them to move around, and you can see which systems are close to these low-sec areas and start your base, and you can see from where to where you can go, and you can focus your efforts and how you can avoid certain fleets if you get trapped in, or if it's a dead-end system, or whatever you need to move, or where you need to move from where to where. So now we've been talking about occupancy and plexing. Occupancy is the only measurable way of seeing how well you are doing with your militia. A lot of people in normal Empire Wars are tracking ISK losses or ship kills for their own corporation or for the other corporation or for their alliance. This doesn't work very well with the militias, as you have a lot of people who sometimes don't even know how you post a kill mail, don't even know the kill mail, the kill board for the militia members, and some people don't bother posting the losses or the wins from one side or the other. So tracking your efforts just by looking at your own kill ratio is not, it might be an indication of how well you do, but if you're just in a frigate and flying with a lot of people and killing a lot of other people's ships, it looks pretty well, but you can still be on the losing side because your militia will be losing occupancy over the different systems. So occupancy is the only way to measure how well your militia is doing. As I said, occupancy switches depending on the amount of victory points you gain. And you gain these victory points by doing Plexus, who spawn in the system, or by doing factional warfare missions. As I already said before, factional warfare missions start at one place and take you deep into enemy space in a random other system. So it is very hard to contribute to a concentrated effort by doing factional warfare missions, because you don't really know where this mission will take. For example, if your militia is focusing fighting in Arga, which is common ground where militia and Ammar are dishing it out, for Minmatar and Ammar are dishing it out, and you take a factional warfare mission and it takes you to Kormonen or to Varg or Dal, which are neighbor systems, you're not really contributing to what you're trying to achieve in Arga. Plexus spawn and despawn, they, oh, now I'm jumping, sorry. Yeah, Plexus spawn and despawn around planets. So you have to find them with your scanner. Only members of the militia can scan for these Plexus. And why should you do these Plexus? As I said, you do these Plexus to gain victory points, and personally you gain standing while doing these Plexus. And in fact, when you do these Plexus, you are visible to everybody in local with a beacon. Everybody sees you in the local chat, and everybody sees this beacon in overview as soon as you open the Plex, and everybody knows how you can find, where he can find you. Because he just has to fly to this beacon. You will be flying to this beacon because you want to enter the Plex, and the opposing militia will fly to the beacon to either fight you and stop you from doing the Plexus, or trying to trap you. But in the end, everything is happening around these Plexus, and these Plexus are visible in local on your overview for everybody. Even neutrals can fly to these Plexus and start fighting you. If they have the appropriate ship, they can also enter it, and they can shoot both sides if they want to. The point in doing Plexus, and why I think Plexus are such a good idea, is that it's a big alternative to everything what is in ETH before in doing PvP in low-sec. What you do in low-sec is gate camping. You're sitting at a gate for hours and hours and shooting something that comes along. Very funny. Takes along and you don't see something. You don't do anything. You just sit there and wait. Maybe you're on YouTube and looking at something else, but you're gate camping and you're sitting ducks. Plexus you can do actively. You have to do something for it. You gain standing. You have to shoot some NPC navies if you're doing offensive Plexus. They drop tags. They are fairly valuable. You can always salvage the opposing faction NPC fleets, ships, and you're on the move. You're not sitting ducks. You're doing something. While moving, you see how good or well your fleet is doing, and you learn to work together, which is the step you have to do from being a single-player mission runner to a 0-0 member of an alliance, because you have to work together, and this is the incentive of faction warfare, to get people who want to fight together, fighting other people who want to fight as well. It is also an alternative to station hugging. Dock and undock and dock and undock can be very, very boring, and with the de-rushing and docking timer, it can take endless and hours. Most fleet commanders on the Minmatar side won't engage members of the opposing faction if they are sitting at a station. They can sit at the station all the time they want. If we are in their system and taking their Plexus, we contest the system, and if we do enough Plexus in the system will switch occupancy. The station hugger might have hundreds of kills, but he will lose his system. So another reason why it is a good idea to go out Plexing. It is also, as I said, an alternative to pirating, because you're fighting people who want to fight. You're not preying on the weak or looking for profit, so easy ganks. And it is in all an intangible reward in the end, after all. And there is not really you can win or gain ISK-wise or loyalty point-wise, but you gain a lot of experience in fighting, in PvPing, in being a member of a fleet, in acting as a fleet, and if you step up, being a fleet commander and picking the right targets. It is also far less boring than ship spinning, because I've seen a lot of people in Militia Chat complaining, oh, I don't want to do Plexus, let's go out in PvPing, and people sign up and asking the fleet commander, are we doing Plexus? And he says yes, and says, no, I don't want to do it, then they drop. So they drop. What do they? Then they sit in station and spin their ship, and then they go play. I don't find any fleet commanders who want to PvP, because he doesn't want to do Plexus. But as I said, Plexing is the best idea, it's the best way to get the opposing faction out to fight. Especially in the Minmatar and the Amar war, talking from my own experience, the Amar really like their own systems. Especially their own systems. They really want to have those systems with the name occupied by the Amar Empire. So the best way to annoy them and to get them out to fight you is taking their systems, is by doing these Plexus. So we get to Plexus. How do you find them? Plexus are located around planets. So you fly to a planet, open up your onboard scanner, and click on scan. That's all you need to do. You wait out best is you do it 2 or 3 times because it's chance-based, so it might be that you don't get it on your first hit. And if you find the plex, it will show as result on your scanner. It will also display a signal strength, and depending on how strong the signal strength is, it will indicate on what size it is. The signal strength, the higher the let's say it this way: the lower the signal strength is, the bigger the plex is. The bigger the plex is, the more standings you gain, the more victory points you gain with it, and the bigger ships that can be in there. There are 3 different sizes of plexus with 4 different restrictions. The 3 different sizes of plexus are related to the restrictions on the acceleration gate and the ship restrictions they give to this plex. A minor plex has a restriction of industrials, destroyers, and frigates only. So everything above that cannot enter that system, cannot enter this plex. The normal plexus, called, for example, armor installation, opposed to minor armor installation or major armor installation. The normal systems, so the second one in size, allow up to cruiser-sized ships and Tech 2 frigates. So you have industrials, destroyers, frigates, Tech 2 frigates, and cruisers allowed into these plexus. And the third size is the major ones, and there are 2 flavors of major ones, which is the currently commonly only called major one, which is up to battle cruisers and HEX. So you have battle cruisers and Tech 2 frigates. No HEX in the second one. The HEX are in the major ones. You have minor, normal, and major. You have up to frigates in the minor, up to cruisers and Tech 2 frigates in the normal, and you have battle cruisers, and Tech 2 cruisers in the major ones. The major ones came in another flavor, which are commonly called the unrestricted one, which are from the technical side, what you do inside the plex, just as the normal major ones, but they don't have an acceleration gate, so you can get your mothership inside there if you want to. The 3 sizes are related to what you do inside the plex. Gaining a plex, winning a plex, or finishing a plex is finding it, flying towards the acceleration gate, and entering the plex. And inside you will find a beacon with a countdown timer. If you are in a minor plex, you have a 10-minute countdown. In a normal one, you have a 15-minute countdown. And if you are in a major one, you have a 20-minute countdown. The major one doesn't distinguish between unrestricted or a normal major one. It's always 20 minutes for the major ones. What does it mean? This countdown is triggered, is proximity triggered, so you have to be within a certain area of the beacon, which is, just a second, which is 10K for the minor one, 20K for the normal one, and 30K for the major or unrestricted one. So, for the duration of 10, 15 or 20 minutes, you're sitting ducks at this plex, if you want to finish it. The idea is, you will be also facing some NPC navies, but they are usually not really a hassle. You can kill them or you can speed tank them. Speed tank means you have somebody who's dragging them around and just dragging them around within the plex. If you can do it and stay within the beacon radius, you can also speed tank them and do the countdown timer, but as I already said, you can do it very effectively with 2 people if you have one who is dragging all the aggro around the plex inside the grid and the other one just sitting at the beacon. But now you're inside the plex, you have somebody speed tanking it, and you're sitting ducks for 10 minutes. Why are you there sitting ducks for 10 minutes and waiting out that countdown timer? The idea is you are visible to everybody in system. The beacon is visible, so it is also known to everybody where you are. So if the opposing faction comes along, they see you in local chat, they see that the system is contested, and they see a beacon in the system, so they have a fairly idea of where you might be. So you wait there 10 minutes. It's not like hours of gate camping. It's just 10 minutes. And if nobody shows up, you finish the Plex. You gain the standing. You loot the wrecks for the tags if you want to. Or you just move on to the next planet, scan for the next Plex, and do the next Plex. And you gain your victory points for the system. So you add up to the victory points total for the system. So you can make the system vulnerable in the end. Yes, the bigger the system, the more heavy are the NPCs, but all of them can be speed tanked. That's not a problem. They respawn after a certain time, so you have to watch out for that. And as CCP said, the idea behind factional warfare is to give an incentive to PvP. So the idea is not really to fight the NPCs, so they're not that difficult. The idea is to attract people to fight you. So you're visible to everybody else, even neutrals who can come in and fight you. And you're just waiting there for 10 minutes if somebody shows up to fight you while you're doing this Plexus. You just waited for 10 minutes. As I said, it's not hours of gate camping, it's just 10, 15 or 20 minutes, and then you move on. And even while you waited for 10 minutes, you gain something for it, and you contribute to your war effort. Okay, getting now to a few tactics and strategies you do or do not during fleet ops in Militia Chat, which are mostly picked from my experience in the Minmatar militia. I don't have any experience on how other militias are doing it, but I hope this will do for a starter. So, you get into the militia, you get into a fleet, you are doing Plexus. You fight, you get into a system, and then it depends on how the fleet commander is handling Plexing or the fleet. There are different styles, and I'm going to describe a few of them. If you are confident as fleet commander, or if it's fairly quiet around you and you don't have a lot of intel of opposing faction members, fleet commanders tend to split the fleet when they are in the system. They enter a system, then they give the go for the fleet, do your Plexus, do your stuff. Usually means that people fly to the different planets. They drop the planet and the planet number in fleet chat, and everybody flies to a different planet to scan for a Plex. Everybody who finds a Plex reports that back in fleet chat. So the fleet commander has an idea of how many Plexes there are. Sometimes fleet commanders split it up as I have the heavy stuff at the gate with a few fast tacklers, and only send out cruisers and destroyers. So I have fast blocking ships, a few tacklers with my high DPS at the gate, and having the destroyers and cruisers looking for Plexus, because they are more mobile than the heavy stuff. If you find those Plexus, some fleet commanders open all Plexus at once. Again, if it's fairly quiet, you don't have much intel of opposing faction members, they open all Plexus at once. Opening a Plexus means, or is like, if you warp to a Plex, the beacon will appear. You can abort your warp, so you don't warp there, but it will be visible. As long as you don't warp to a Plex, you only have it on your scanner as scan result. Nobody else can see it until you open up the Plex or you warp to it. Some people open up Plexus, but safe spot around in the system, so when an opposing militia member comes and warps to a Plex, to the acceleration gate, they can jump on him. So they are not within the Plex or at the acceleration gate, they are somewhere hidden to lure them out. It's all kind of baiting and luring around Plexus and how you do it with the acceleration gates. These beacons have a tricky part to it, that you always warp to 0 to it. Meaning, if you open a Plex and you warp to the gate and you select warp to 100 km, you drop right on top of the acceleration gate. No matter what you do, you always drop right on top of this acceleration gate. This is important to know for when you are doing Plexus and when you are sitting at the acceleration gate. Because on the one hand, if you're in the bigger fleet, you can sit there, but the size of your fleet is visible in local. If you're in a smaller fleet and a bigger fleet comes in, and you have people stranded at the acceleration gate, for example, because they're flying a Tech 2 cruiser, and you are at a minor installation, or a minor Plex, so they cannot enter, they are an easy prey. So don't stay at the acceleration gate. get into an optimal distance of the acceleration gate and be aligned to something. So in case somebody tries to jump you at the acceleration gate, you can get out. Also, when you warp into, when you use the acceleration gate and warp into the dead space complex where the beacon is, drop a can at the entry point. So when you are inside, you know where, if you attract opposing faction members and get into the system, you know where they are going to appear. Some fleet commanders divide their fleet and have 2 of them doing the Plex, one just speed tanking all the NPCs inside, and the other one sitting at the beacon, making care that the countdown timer is active, and having the rest of the fleet around this can aligned to a planet, again at their optimal distance. So, for example, if you are in a normal Plex and you have a lot of cruisers, and you see a fleet coming in with a few assault frigates and battle cruisers and some bigger stuff, then you check out, are they going to enter your Plex you are currently doing? You set up this kind of trap. You have the can, so you know where they warp in if they enter the Plex. And since they only can enter with their assault frigates and cruisers, you know you don't have to face the battle cruisers. So you put your high DPS around the can in optimal, aligned to something in case it is too overwhelming. And when they warp in, you have a fast locking interceptor maybe, who keeps them there at the point, and you can put all your DPS on the ship that enters there. Speed tanking, as I already said, the NPCs inside those Plexus are a hassle, not really, or more nuisance. So they're not really troublesome because most people just speed tank them. A lot of people take faction ammo into factional warfare, or take 2 armor, and it is fairly expensive. So they are not always out at shooting NPCs. So you have somebody in a fast ship, no matter how big it is, you always can speed tank it if you're fast enough. A fast ship, getting into the Plex, dragging all the aggro, and then flying around 200k around the beacon. If the respawn appears, everybody warps out for a moment, or somebody else grabs the aggro and tries to speed tank them as well, while the other one, or just one person, is at the beacon or within the radius to trigger the countdown, which is 15, 20, or 30k. As I said, you can use those acceleration gains with the restrictions to divide the enemy forces. If you have intel of a mixed fleet of frigates up to battleships, how do I explain it best? And the best way is just to explain how the Armada did it to us. We had a lot of very mixed fleets in the Minmatar during the beginning. We had battleships, command ships, frigates, tacklers, everything we had. And we had everything in one fleet, and we had everything moving from Plex to Plex. And we had Amar Corporation, and it was a PI, if I recall right. And they were located very closely, and they were hunting us, and we were hunting them. But they had their ship types restricted to certain sizes of Plexus. So they always were trying to separate us, to get us into Plexus where they had more ships of that size. And when they found themselves outnumbered, or when they found bigger size Plexus, they had a close base, and they were very fast to ship up or ship down. So when they noticed we had a small group of frigates and cruisers around flying, and we were doing Plexus of all sides, and we had a few major ones, this corporation tended to switch very fast to the bigger ships, so they can engage us in the bigger Plexus. On the other hand, if they find themselves outnumbered, they picked the smaller ships to try to fight in the smaller Plexus. So you really can use those ship restrictions to your advantage to divide the forces and to focus on certain ship types, which also makes it easy for a newer player, as frigates and cruisers are the main base of it. Frigates and cruisers can do like half of the Plexus that are available. Plexus spawn mechanism is something you have to take into consideration as well. You have a certain amount of Plexus which spawn in a certain constellation. Up till now, the constellation term was not important in EVE at all. But right now, for Plexing, for doing Plexus and for gaining victory points, it became very important. Looking at an example Plex, which would be like Het in Minmatar, it has 6 different systems within it. These 6 different systems have a total amount of Plexus that spawn within these systems. If you do one Plex in one system, this Plex will respawn after a certain amount of time in another system within this Plex. So if you want to take a system and you want to have as much as possible Plexus within this system, and to make Plexus respawn in the system again, you have to finish the Plexus in the systems within the same constellation. So looking ahead with 6 systems, you want to focus on one system, for example Augur. You do one system in Augur, and then you try to do as much as possible systems as well in the neighborhood system within the constellation to make system spawn again in Augur. That is why, at least in Minmatar Faction Warfare Militia, we have usually called focuses on certain constellations, where people are requested or asked to, if they go out plexing, that they take their fleet into these systems. There is a certain downtown mechanism to Plex respawn, which make it a little bit more easier for Plexus to respawn after downtown, but currently only the Amar and the Minmatar are having issues with that, because the Amar prime time is short after downtown, and the Minmatar prime time is around evening time, European times. So 8 a.m., 8 p.m., 9 p.m. around this time. So the Amar have it slightly easier to do Plexus because they spawn a little bit easier after downtown. This issue didn't appear between Galenta and Qadari, but I have the suspicion that the Galenta and Qadari are not really that much into plexing. The Galenta are really not much into plexing, as according to my reports they lost the whole region, or several systems or several constellations at once. But that is again independent for each faction. So again, where the faction warfare map from each Ombe is very handy is that you have indications which system belong to which constellation, so you can plan your efforts with your fleet as fleet commander to stay within a certain constellation, to do a lot of plexus inside there. And as I said, the Amar really like the system. Picking a constellation in like the Bleak Lands and doing a lot of plexus inside there will really annoy them, and they will come out and fight you. Leaving faction warfare, I mentioned that already. Dropping and leaving faction warfare is fairly easy. I already said in the first part, I originally had it planned for this. If you shoot your own militia members, you will drop in standing, and if your standing drops below the necessary 0.5, you will drop from the militia. It is fairly easy to come and go, apart from the 24-hour cooldown, and I think I came to the end of it. Now I have started a little bit late. It's now 1:45, and I open up the floor for questions. Hello? Hello? I grab me something to drink. Okay, back at the microphone. Let's grab the questions. Can you use your microdorf inside the faction warfare Plex? Yes. There's nothing more to say. Yes, you can use them inside the Plex. On a short addendum, assault frigates using afterburners became very, very prominent on the Minmatar side, using the Jaguar and the Wolf. They are still fast, and they are nice ships, and they are flown often with an AB. But you can use your microdorf inside the Plex. Savineria, I don't know what you mean with can we practice. Maybe you can rephrase that question, and then I can answer that. Canteen Charlie, yes. It's a mixture of PvE and PvP. You have PvE incentives, doing those plexes, to get into PvP. The NPC spawns are just a small step, but the main idea is to be visible to other players who want to fight as well. In this terms, the opposing faction members, and to fight them. It is you as player who should defend your plexus. The NPCs are just to make it not too easy to solo. Qadari militia members has more than 50% members than the Galenta, yes, but they fly Qadari ships. And they have sometimes very weird tactics. Can we read more on the subject? Yes. For once, the official guide about faction warfare, linked by Miao Chan, is pretty decent. It is complete, decent, and it is readable. It's a little bit tricky, but it is readable. I have also posted a short introduction into faction warfare on the E-UNI boards, which is also mainly what I've been talking about the last 2 hours. Yes, you have to participate to the militia to participate. You cannot scan for Plexus if you're not part of the militia. If somebody has opened the place, you can fly there in as neutral, but you gain not really something from it. You still can find players fighting there, but you're neutral to them, so you'll be fighting the one side and the other side. And you will be fighting the NPCs. So, and people who have to fight you, since you're on low sec, are, if you're not shooting them first, or losing security standing, just like it is normally in low sec. The faction militias are in a war deck with each other. That is why they can shoot each other merciless every time, everywhere. Both sides do Plexus. You can do offensive Plexus and you can do defensive Plexus. If you are Minmatar and you come into a Minmatar occupied system which is contested by the Amar, you can scan for Plexus. You will open up a Plex, and then you're sitting there with NPCs of your own faction and waiting there 10, 15 or 20 minutes. Again, if an Amar player comes along and sees that Plex, he can fly there and trying to shoot you, but he has to shoot you as well as the NPCs. I've once met an Amar player who was sitting in an Amar spawn, in an Amar occupied system, which we wanted to contest, and he was with his frigate within the NPCs, and he used the NPCs to his advantage, since I had to fight the NPCs and him together. So there's offensive plexing, which you do in the opposing faction occupied systems, and there's defensive plexing, which you do in contested systems of your own faction. Doing Plexus in a system which is not contested doesn't gain you anything. But it is all visible in the upper left corner where the occupancy is listed. There is listed Amar occupied, and is also listed if it's contested or if it's not contested. Are faction warfare corps from the E-UNI open to non-E-UNI player? Yes, they are. I haven't really started recruiting openly for Fuck You because I don't know where to start, and I just didn't want to make a post because I then get random folks. And also, there is a little tweak regarding the EVE University chat. Other corporations are not allowed to recruit there, and I'm not recruiting from the EVE Minmatar space chat because I don't think it's fair as well. But the Faction Warfare Cup, at least PUCU, is open for non-UNI people as well. I would like people who want to join without being in the EVE University to be close around my playtime. So I have an eye and feel for the people who join the Faction Warfare Corp, and it builds up to something which is similar to the EVE University with the same spirit. That's why I haven't started just randomly recruiting. Fuck You allows alt characters from EVE-UNI players. The tricky part is that the corporation needs to keep the standing to stay within the faction, within the militia. So the small request I have of everybody who wants to bring the alt into Fuck You is that they at least gain 0.5 standing with the Amar Empire. This doesn't take too much depending on your standing, and I will help with that. Because we can do missions together for several corps, but it would help out the corp in the long run. How do you join Fuck You? Fuck You currently has 2 offices, one in Logutur and another one where I have forgotten which it was. I am still looking for good offices around Heimatar and close to the water system, but they get pretty expensive. Expensive, I mean like an office in Rennes costs like 100 mil per month, and if you get closer to the border systems of the low-sec areas where faction warfare is happening, you can have them up to 15-20 million per month office. You have to pay for it. Since I'm currently paying everything out of my own wallet, I'm still looking for a trade-off between close enough and cheap enough. But Logotur is one office, and the headquarters is at Rennes, but where you can apply it as well, but there's not an office, so you have to look on the headquarters tab. The 0.5 standing is your basic standing. Diplomacy is not helping on that. Yeah, that's not really bad that the outline is cut off. I'll delete the first part, and I hope you can see the second part at least. Okay, I only have the second part of the militia. Oh, I see, just in my outline here. There's one thing I would like to add to it: pirating while being in faction warfare. We have a few corporations who have been formerly pirates in the militia, who joined the militia and who stick to pirating. And we have a few corporations in the militia who have a strict anti-pirate stand. Sometimes even that strict that they start shooting pirates even if they are within the militia. This commonly leads to a lot of drama. So be careful if you have very negative security standing. On the other hand, in the militia we have also some bad experience with some formerly pirate corporations who joined the militia, who picked up a fleet, and the only thing they did was hanging around in Amamake, ganking neutrals or traders or haulers, because it's so easy to pick up a fleet in the militia. It acts like a boost for the pirates because they can start attacking bigger targets. But since they focused on fighting neutrals and hanging around in Amamake and hitting on those mission runners who are stupid enough to do missions in Amamake, they do not contribute to the war effort. This is one reason why some of the drama in the militia origins off, because some corporations don't really contribute to what other people are doing. This is also one reason why you have to make a certain risk assessment when you are in the militia. You have to see and learn by yourself or by asking or by talking to people who you can really trust within the militia. Although everybody is more or less aligned towards a certain goal, not everybody is really walking in that direction. Some are just stepping aside, and this is, in the end, after all, Eve. Some are walking in the opposite direction. Okay, any more questions? No, I haven't covered that yet. If I recall correctly, if you're in a fleet and you hit somebody and the loot is open to all within your fleet, if you are in the same militia, I don't think it applies. I'm not 100% sure on it. As I mentioned before in my first part, some fleet commanders in the Minmatar militia have banded together, even across different player corporations. Every loot they get from player kills, sometimes nice Tech 2 stuff or even faction stuff, goes into a pot and gets sold by a trustworthy person. And everybody who loses a ship while being part of one of those fleet commanders' fleets, so if you fly a stabber and you fly with one of those fleet commanders, you get that ship replaced. I don't know how other people handle that, and the NPC loot is pretty bad, but so far I have only been in fleets where the loot has been picked up by the members of the fleet and been donated to this pot. I haven't been in a fleet yet that didn't donate all the stuff they looted to this pot, that is repaying everybody their ships, even up to battleships if the pot has enough cash in it, to replace the ships lost under these fleet commanders. Necessary for the compensation of your ship is that you post your losses on the Minmatar militia kill board. That's more or less all. I see a lot of people flying different ships. I see Flavor of the Month a lot, like Falcons have been used a lot in faction warfare on the militia side. Also on the Amar side, I see people flying Drakes and Reapers and whatever, everything is flown on every side. Faction warfare points, these victory points only contribute to the contesting and decontesting of the system and switching it from one occupancy to another occupancy. What you gain by Plexus is only standing with the Empire and your militia, and you only gain a rank. you don't get any benefits of it, or bonuses. No, you don't get any discount. It has been requested by faction warfare players that higher ranking members get a better discount in loyalty points if they buy at their store. But, no benefits. I'm not sure if you can join E-UNI if your security rating is below 0.5. I can say if your security rating is below 0.5, it doesn't matter to me as being director of StarQ. I take everybody who's willing to participate and want to fight. The only request I have is that you get your empire standing with the Militia Republic up to 0.5, so that we in the long run don't drop out with the corporation out of the faction warfare. My personal standing with Garr is currently high enough to keep StarQ for a long time in the militia, but in the long run I have to keep an eye on it. Yes, I have seen Minmatar flying Amarr and Amarr flying Minmatar, but some of them are stick more to their own ships. If you are a Galanter, there are several ways you can join the Galanter militia. You can join on your own. In that case, you fly to the... I forgot the name. You fly to an office of the Federal Defense Union. And there you sign up for the Galanter militia. An alternative is joining a player corporation which is part of the Galanter Federation. I think we have a faction warfare corp related to the university, which is part of the Galanter militia, but I don't know that. Your race doesn't matter if you want to join the militia. It is only your standing that matters. So we also have some Amarr characters with high enough Minmatar Republic standing fighting for the Minmatar Republic in the Minmatar militia. Did that answer your questions, Savineria? If you don't have any standing yet, you can pick whatever empire you want to fight for, Galanter, Qadari, Amarr or Minmatar, and get your standing up to 0.5 for that empire. And then you can join the non-player militia. If you want to join a player corporation, you can join that right away. In case of the queue, you could join it right away. But I would request that while being in the queue in my corp, that you get it up to 0.5 for the Minmatar Republic. I can help getting up standing by doing missions together. I have access to some high level 4 agents, so we join up, do some missions together, and that will help getting you that standing a little bit faster. If you are a new player, if you have bought the box in store, the retail box, you should have get a letter of recommendation. I don't know how it works, but it should help you getting that standing. My corp is at StarQ. You can see it in my bio. Thank you. Tucker University of Hard Knocks. Any more questions? No problem. Okay, in that case, there are no more questions. I close this class and stop recording.